Hello, dear students, seekers of knowledge and young aspirants. It is my pleasure to welcome you all in this massive open online course. This is offered by IGNOU through the platform of SWAM. It will be immensely beneficial for the student of literature. Today, we are going to deal with one of the greatest intellectual and Indian writing in English. His name is Nirad C Chaudhuri. Nirad C Chaudhuri is one of the greatest intellectuals and writers in modern India. He was born on November 23rd into a middle-class family in Kishoreganj, a small town in Mymensingh district of East Bengal, nowadays known as Bangladesh. He was educated in Bengal and took his BA Honours degree from the University of Calcutta. He studied MA degree in history but was unsuccessful in the examination. Even as a school child, he was fascinated by books and intellectual life. According to C.R. Mandy, I had hardly met an Indian writer, said C.R. Mandy once, with such coruscating intelligence, his brain dances like fireflies before monsoon. I would always rate him cerebrally and stylistically in the top class of Indo-Anglian writers. Nirad C Chaudhuri was extremely fortunate in his marriage. As Anita Malik puts it, Nirad C Chaudhuri would not have been what he is without the patience and unfailing support of his wife. In 1955, he went to study abroad for the first time in his life. The British Council arranged for him to visit England, where he spent 5 weeks at the invitation of BBC. His first book was the autobiography of an unknown Indian that made him famous. Though he was denounced as Anglophile, his mastery of English is admired. The book deals with an account of the other side of the sea. The book is divided into 4 sections: early environment, first 12 years, education, and into the world. Early environment is devoted to the background describing Kishoreganj, his ancestral village. First 12 years describes his birth and early life. Education deals with his childhood. He spent at high school and college in Calcutta. Into the World is an essay on the life in Bengal in 1920s rather than an account of Chaudhuri's life. Chaudhuri's The Autobiography of an Unknown Indian is an autobiography, history, sociology, anthropology, Indology, and political analysis. In fact, culture, social acts and social relationships, class distinction, ethnicity, rural and urban communities, family and kinship, economic, political, religious, educational, recreational, welfare and aesthetic institutions all find place in Mr. Chaudhuri's book. The Autobiography of an Unknown Indian describes the social and political conditions in which an Indian grew to manhood in the early decades of the country. Chaudhuri's second autobiography, Thy Hand, Great Anak, composed in the year of 1987. It is an exploratory study of Indian political and social ethos. It opens up in 1921 when he was in search of a job. It reflects the ups and downs of his career as a clerk, journalist and unemployed scholar gypsy, secretary of Sarath Chandra Bose and broadcaster on AIR. It closes with an writing and reception of the autobiography of an unknown Indian. The greater part of the book deals with politics and social conditions. Chaudhuri lived through the crucial period of Indian independence and great socio-political changes. His opinions are debatable, but he deserves to be read. When Britain withdrew from India, Chaudhuri felt an almost personal sense of loss. The book runs almost 1,000 pages. It covers the year from 1921 to 1952. It has 10 chapters with a long epilogue. These are Introduction, Apologia Pro Biographia Sua, Livelihood and Politics, 1921 to 1922. Towards a Vocation, that deals from 1922 to 1925. The Scholar Gypsy, from the time span 1926 to 1928. The Gandhian Rebellion deals with the time of 1927 to 1932. Into the Married Life, it covers the time span in between 1932 to 1937. Experience and Politics deals with the years of 1937 to 1939. Indian enjoys the war from 1939 to 1941. Migration to Delhi from 1942 to 1945. Victim from 1945 to 1947. Crossing the Bar from 1947 to 1952. Epilogue Credo at Intelligum. Nirad C Chaudhuri is one of the greatest intellectuals and artists as per excellence. A prolific and versatile writer, Chaudhuri has written a huge number of essays and articles. These are the Autobiography of an Unknown Indian, Thy Hand, Great Anak, Intellectual in India, The Continent of Sirs, A Passage to England, a Travelogue, To Live or Not to Live, and Hinduism. In Nirad C Chaudhuri's work, subject always determine his style. The autobiography is written in a descriptive prose that requires an acute sense of observation. His sentences are long and balanced, graceful and flexible, imaginative and even poetic. For example, at Kisorganj, the mist hung over the landscape exactly like a veil of fine muslin. The autobiography, chapter, page number 7. Or, where to walk through the grass was to crush a mass of diamonds. Originality, vigor, freshness, lucidity, raciness, and humor characterizes the style of A Passage to England. His style in The Continent of Sirs is conspicuous for bitter and vituperative expression, sarcasm and pungent remarks, and animal imagery. For example, but the duality of Hindu existence is like a cat and dog life of maladjusted married couple who can neither separate nor live together. In Hinduism, the bitterness for Hinduism has been expressed in a subdued manner. The Scholar Extraordinary is written in a simple, clear, vigorous and lucid style. In the latest work, Thy Hand, Great Anak, Chaudhuri can be prey to petty prejudices, but he is never boring, bombastic or pointless. A profound scholar of English literature, Chaudhuri's writing are studied with literary allusions. He recalls one after another Shakespeare, Ben Jonson, Jane Austen, Milton, Dr. Johnson, Arnold, Tennyson, Webster, Bridges, Carlyle, Gibbon, Hardy and Browning, etc. K. Raghavendra Rao writes, Chaudhuri's reading of English literature has gone so deep into his system that he is very elusive about it. In order to express Indian ethos graphically, Chaudhuri uses Indian words, both Hindi and Bengali. These are Astad, Fakir, Sagrid, Ulema, Madrasa, Ristedar, Yuddha, Kolakota, Bhadralok, etc. As a writer, Chaudhuri is the most controversial due to his radical views on Indian history, culture and society, but what distinguishes his work is rare intellectual brilliance, subtle irony and originality both in thoughts and expression. In this respect, Nirad C Chaudhuri is a writer par excellence in modern Indian English prose. Chaudhuri's writing are just like an open window through which one can peep into India's culture, society and religion. His keen observation and penetrating insight removes the layer of pseudo-sophistication from India's social ethos. He himself writes in his introduction to Live or Not to Live, I have tried to see social life and family life in the light of highest ideals of life, to live a happy life in our social family relations in the first stage of living well. It will also be seen that I have not shrunk from probing into sociological foundations of our social and family life. His another work, Three Horsemen of the New Apocalypse. The three horsemen are individualism, nationalism and democracy, which he holds responsible for the decadence which has overtaken civilization. The University of Oxford honored him with a delete in 1990. The Queen conferred the CBE on him. He was a fellow of Royal Literary Society. His another work, The Continent of Sirs, an essay on the peoples of India 1966, provoked a fierce controversy. He proposed the thesis that Hindus are actually a race alien to India and arrivals from Europe. Modern Hindus are descended from the fair-haired, blue-eyed Aryans who inhabited the region between Volga and Danube. Circe was a sorceress in Greek mythology. Anyone who drank from her cup was turned into a pig, and this was the fate of the companions of Odysseus, Ulysses in the Odyssey. His biography of Clive, Robert Clive of India, is overwhelmingly favorable to this Nawab, who enriched himself through a lute. Chaudhuri attempts to justify Clive's life on the grounds that the acceptance of gift was not contrary to the regulations then in force. Clive, page number 260 to 261. Scholar extraordinary, the life of the Professor R.T. Honfriedrich Max Muller. Another important work is A Passage to India. A passage is devoted mainly to the glorification of England and English society, culture and literature. Radhakrishnan Murthy rightly observes, India clings to him like a shadow, for it is his shadow, and once again we witness the combat of shadows. Chaudhuri unscrupulously condemns everything Indian, especially everything Hindu. Casting aspersion on the Hindu way of worship and glorifying English style of worship, he writes, we go to temples to look on the image of a divine potentate and to which the ceremonials of its daily life, which are modeled on those of a king. But certainly the English people did not go to their churches to look on a divine ruler and his daily life. The continent of Sir is remarkable for the expression of Chaudhuri's highly prejudiced and individualistic, idiosyncratic, controversial and myopic sociological, religious and historical devices of vituperation and seed hatred. He fails to see the living dynamic, the vibrant and ageless spiritualism of India. To live or not to live evinces Chaudhuri's wisdom and knowledge of life. He says much of his prejudice and virulence. In it, he considered, how can we have a happy social and family life under the conditions to which we are born in this country. It is divided into two parts. The first part deals with the social life in India and the second part with the family life. He seems to love his country and countrymen and tells them the first requisite for getting happiness in the company of others is to learn to love unselfishly and make others happy. It is the surest way of getting happiness for ourselves. Chaudhuri emerges as an inveterate Anglophile in his writings. His early upbringing instilled in him great fascination for England and the English way of life. He adds, on the contrary, the older idea was made fuller or more real. That means for me, even after experience England of English literature remained the true England. The circumstances of his life and his embittered experience strengthened his Anglomania. He is as loathed by chattering classes in India as he is becoming a cult figure amongst the minute band of Indophile gentry in England. Indeed, he has developed a sort of love-hate relationship with India and the people of India, and his approaches, although professedly objective, are necessarily subjected to the pools of his tremendous egotism. He veers dangerously between subjective and objective approaches, between the particular and the general, between the fact and opinion, between past and present. Nirad C Chaudhuri is an outstanding prose writer. His matchless craftsmanship and superb style assign him a rare place in Indian English prose. He is aware of his envious role as a writer, but he dislikes to be called an Indian writer. He vehemently declared that I am politically an Indian national and by birth a Hindu. I have never denied nor shall I, but this is quite irrelevant to my writings in English, even when living in India. I used to say, so far as I write in English, I do so in Bengali as well. I am not an Indian writer, but a writer in India. I refuse to admit racialism in literature. Any literature in any particular language is made one by that language and cannot be classified in racial categories. We do not regard Conrad's novel as polished examples of writing in English. We do not call Claudian's Latin, Egyptian Latin, nor St. Augustine's Confessions and the City of God examples of African Latin. Why should we then call his English written by an writer of Indian writing in English? Thank you.